Chapter 1. Introduction. The major aspects of well-being that should be considered when we are talking about mental health are cognitive, emotional, and behavioral well-being. Mental health focuses on how people think, behave, and also their feelings. Oftentimes, when people talk about mental health, they refer to the absence of a disorder mentally. So it is clear that mental health generally refers to a state of lack of mental disorder. The World Health Organization, in talking about mental health, takes it a little beyond just having an absence of mental abnormalities and disorders. It says that the apex of mental health is not just preventing mental disorders, but also making sure that happiness and wellness are constantly lived out by mentally healthy individuals. The World Health Organization is also strongly emphasizing that a lot of importance should be placed on the preservation and restoration of mental health, especially on an individual basis, especially as children and teenagers. An individual will have good mental health when there is a good balance between the factors that are involved in mental disorder. This means that when these elemental factors are not balanced, it often leads to mental disorder. Below are the factors that can cause mental disorder. Constant economic and social pressure. This refers to a mental disorder that comes from being within a particular set of people that are either marginalized or persecuted. Also, when an individual is down economically, this means that the individual cannot meet needs financially or lack the very necessities of life that can be acquired with money. Mental disorder can set in. A study was conducted 5 years ago in Iran, and it was discovered that there were about 903 families mentally displaced, and a large majority of these numbers had mental disorders arising from poverty and staying away from the main city where those with good socioeconomic status live. The poor ones lived on the outskirts of the very large city of Iran. Also, part of the research that was made 5 years ago about mental health in Iran and families that are suffering from mental disorders showed that there is a difference in the quality and accessing of mental health when it comes to factors that are modifiable, factors that can change with time, and non-modifiable factors, permanent factors. The factors that are modifiable include available jobs in local areas, occupation, individual social involvement level, quality of housing, level of education attained. The factors that cannot be modified or are non-modifiable include sex of the individual, age, tribe or ethnic group. As part of the research conducted, the study showed that between the male and females, the males are more mentally displaced than females in Iran, and also those who have a very low socioeconomic involvement are more mentally displaced. Biological factors. This talks about the genetic makeup of individuals. It has been proven by the NIM that family history genetically plays a very major role in the probability that an individual will be prone to mental disorders. This is because there are some types of genes and the variants put some individuals at a higher risk of getting disorders mentally. There are a lot of other factors that could lead to these mental disorders and their developments. It is not as if an individual with a gene that has a connection with disorders such as depression or schizophrenia must have mental disorder development. It is just that the probability of having a developmental mental disorder can be high, especially within their early stages of maturity, as either teenagers or children. For most teenagers and children, and sometimes even adults that have mental disorders, some of the mental disorders, for example, stress, depression, anxiety, etc., can be due to an underlying health condition that has not been taken care of or is incurable. This is why there is a direct link between mental health and physical health. If a teenager has cancer, then such teenagers will be going through pain, and this pain could lead to stress and anxiety. These mental disorders were triggered by an underlying health condition. Chapter 2. Types of mental health disorders. There are various types of mental health disorders, but the three most popular types of mental health disorders among children and teenagers are mood disorders, anxiety disorders, schizophrenia disorder, anxiety disorder. This is the most type of mental disorder. It is common within children and teenagers. This type of mental disorder becomes more intense when teenagers and children with it do not get psychological help as fast as possible, and it develops with them into adulthood. A lot of conditions can lead to anxiety disorders. A very good example is bullying. Children who have witnessed bullying tend to grow up fearful and anxious. Most teenagers and children that have this particular type of mental disorder are usually filled with fear and anxiety, and if traced carefully, this disorder is usually linked to people, situations, or even objects. Once they come in contact with any of these elements that trigger their anxiety, the feeling of fear and anxiety takes a hold of them. So people with this mental disorder avoid these elements that could trigger their fear and anxiety. There are various types of anxiety disorders. They are GAD, Generalized Anxiety Disorder. GAD is an unbalanced worry that seems to interrupt the daily living of an individual. GAD is usually associated with some symptoms. These symptoms include restlessness, tiredness, muscular tension, and sleep interruption. People with GAD do not necessarily have any particular element that triggers their anxiety. Just about anything can put them in that state of fear and anxiety. Panic disorder. People with this type of disorder experience panic attacks regularly. A panic attack can be a sense of immediate disaster or death or terror that seem to get a greater part of them. This kind of terror is usually overwhelming. Phobias. There are various types of phobia. Simple phobia, social phobia, agoraphobia. Simple phobia. Simple phobia talks about the fear of a specific element that can trigger fear and anxiety. This fear is disproportionate, and the elements can either be people, animals, events, and even non-living things. A very common example of simple phobia is the fear of spiders. Social phobia. Another name for social phobia is social anxiety. This type of phobia deals with an individual being scared of being under the judgment of people. This type of phobia prevents individuals that are suffering from it from being in social gatherings or environments. Agoraphobia. A lot of people misunderstand this phobia, and they call it the fear of being outside. However, the term agoraphobia talks about the fear of being in a situation in which you know it will be difficult to get out of your own volition. Examples could be being in an airplane. Psychologists know that there are various kinds of phobia, and sometimes phobias could be peculiar to people. Sometimes, elements that are particularly normal for an individual will be a terror to another individual. The element might be so overwhelming that it might disrupt the normal daily life of the individual. Obsessive-compulsive disorder, OCD. Just like the name suggests, people with this disorder have compulsions and obsessions. What this means is that they have compelling and tiring thoughts to do some things over and over again, for example, arranging their rooms to look the way they want it to be. Post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. This is usually the outcome for most individuals when they go through an event that caused them trauma, or events that were very stressful. When an individual is having PTSD, the individual often feels that their lives, or that of other individuals, are in danger. They usually are overwhelmed with fear, as they often feel that they have no control over the situation. Mood disorders. Mood disorders are also called affective or depressive disorders. People that have mood disorders usually have mood swings. In a certain period, they can have high energy and elation, then in another period, they are in depression. There are different examples of mood disorders. Major depression. Major depression talks about constant depression. Individuals with major depression will have constant low moods, and they will lose interest in events and activities that were usually fun to them before. A major sign that comes with major depression is a long time of total unhappiness. Bipolar disorder. Individuals that have bipolar disorder usually have mood changes, different levels of energy and activities, and unstable ability in the way such individuals live their lives daily. Manic phases are periods of high moods, while low moods refer to depressive phases. Seasonal affective disorder. This type of major depression is triggered during the falls due to reduced daylight and early spring months. These types of conditions that trigger seasonal affective disorder occur in countries that are far away from the equator. Schizophrenia disorder. This class of anxiety disorder is a very highly complex disorder. Mental authorities still contemplate the disorder's classification. They are not still certain about classifying it as a single disorder or a syndrome, i.e., a group of illnesses that is related. This lack of classification is because of the complexity of the disorder. This disorder is usually common within teenagers, especially those between the ages of 16 and 18. It is also common among adults from ages 18 to 30. Individuals with schizophrenia usually have fragmented thoughts, and they usually find information processing difficult. Though schizophrenia is a mental disorder, the symptoms associated with it can either be positive or negative. Positive symptoms of schizophrenia are thought disorders, hallucinations, and delusions. The symptoms of schizophrenia that are negative include withdrawal, an inappropriate mood, and sometimes, lack of motivation to do things. Mental health for both teenagers and children is the absence of mental disorder, and more than that is the continuous seeking of ways and methods to not only prevent mental disorder, but also restore mental wellness. The importance of staying healthy mentally for both teenagers and children cannot be overemphasized. This is because, at this stage, the state of mental health will determine how they will mature into adulthood and the kind of life that they will enjoy as adults. The ensuring of good mental health should be treated with all importance by all parents for their children and teenagers because it also determines the level of physical wellness that the individuals will have. Chapter 3. Developing positive mental health for children. The physical health of a child can affect the mental health of that child, just like teenagers. This means that every measure must be taken to ensure that the physical health of children is at optimum. Below is a list of things to do to ensure that the physical health of children who are before their teenage age is at an optimal level. Feed them with nutritious meals. Give them just the right amount of sleep and shelter. You can allow teenagers to decide when to sleep due to their school academic involvements and social activities while advising them to get enough sleep. For children, they do not have many academic involvements, so their sleep should be regulated and monitored. Take them to exercise regularly. Take them through the process of immunization. Ensure their environment is clean and healthy. The mental health of a child can be directly affected by the physical health of the child. Also, the physical health of the child can be affected by the child's mental health. When a child has a mental disorder that robs the child from sleep and food, the child will fall ill and will be unhappy. This means that every parent must pay attention to some very basic activities that will keep the child's mental health stable. Below is a list of activities that parents can do with the child to keep them mentally healthy. Show that you love them unconditionally. Help them build a very good sense of self-confidence and high self-esteem. Grant them the opportunity to interact and play with other children. Make their surroundings safe and secure by taking out things that will create fear and panic in them. Guide and discipline them appropriately. We will not spend time looking at the basic activities that should be done by parents to ensure the physical health of children before teenage ages. This is because this book is focused on developing and keeping positive mental health for children. Now, let us examine in detail the basic activities that parents can carry out to ensure that the mental health of their kids remains positive. Show that you love them unconditionally. 3 things should be the life wires of every family life. These things are love, acceptance, and security. As a parent, you need to let your children know that your love for them is not based on what they achieved or what they didn't achieve. You need to let them know that you love them because they are your kids. This is not done in words only but also actions. As a parent, you need to know that at some point, these kids will make mistakes, and then at another point, they will get it right. They will win and they will also lose. When you love them unconditionally, they will grow more confident in themselves. Help them build self-confidence and a good self-esteem. These are the various ways a parent can help their children build self-esteem and confidence. Shower them with praises. When children make the first move on anything positive, and they get encouraged by their parents, it pushes them to do more. It makes them want to explore their surroundings more. Allow them to conduct their activities in places that are safe for them, in places where they cannot get hurt. Keep reassuring them by speaking and smiling with them very often, then actively participate in the things that they do. This will help them know that you are in support of what they are doing. As you pay attention to them, they will build their self-confidence and self-esteem. Set goals that are realistic. These children, no matter how little they have their ambitions, they may not be able to voice it out. So help them set realistic goals that will match up with their ambitions. Choose activities that will help them test their abilities and boost their confidence. Be sincere with them. Let them know that you can make your mistakes too. This will make them know that it is not alien to make mistakes. It makes them know that they do not need to kill themselves trying to be perfect because adults themselves are not perfect. Don't give remarks sarcastically. When the child makes a mistake, gets defeated, or does not pass a test, you need to know how the child feels about the situation. This will help you know how to talk to them. They may need the pep talks that will reassure them. Keep encouraging them. For children, enjoying the process is usually more important than striving to do their best. Children learn about teamwork when they try out new activities. New activities also help them build new skills and self-esteem. Let them play with you and other children. Children play for just the fun of it. Though it is for fun, you should know that this fun is needed for development, just like food and good care. Children who are allowed to play are usually very creative. They have good problem-solving skills, and they have a very good level of self-control. These plays that include yelling and running is more than fun. The plays help children stay mentally healthy and positive. As much as they are allowed to play, playing alone will not do them many benefits like when they mix up with other children and play with them. By playing with other children, they will get to know their weaknesses and strengths, they will know they belong somewhere, and they will also learn to relate with other children. You should be involved as part of the peers that they should play with. Join them in the games, play Monopoly with them, and games that have to do with coloring. This will help you spend time with them in a more relaxed setting. As the children learn to play new games with you and other children, make them know that winning is not as important as enjoying the game. After a game, do not hesitate to ask them if they enjoyed the game. Reduce or quit asking them if they won. When you focus on them winning rather than enjoying the game, you will end up frustrating them, and they will not be able to explore new things. As part of the kind of fun they should get involved in, allow them to watch television, but regulate the amount of time they spend watching television and the kind of programs that they watch on TV. Let them watch entertaining shows and at the same time, educating. Another aspect of this particular playing and having fun happens in school. As they grow, make sure you enroll them in schools that will give them a head start and an opportunity to meet other kids, get new friends, and learn interactions with other school children. This will help them know how to make decisions and cope with school-related problems. Providing guidance and discipline for your children. As much as children should be allowed to explore and learn new things and skills, they also need to learn that some actions are negative, and if they get involved in any negative behaviors, they will bear the consequences of their actions. They need to know the rules that are guiding the family that they are in. Let your guidance and discipline be consistent, but do not get irrational as a parent. When they learn to live by these rules, they will take these behaviors to their schools and workplaces, and they will become better examples in obeying rules of conduct in these organizations. Guidance and discipline suggestions. Here are ways a parent can discipline and guide the child into having very good and positive mental health. Let your expectations for them be realistic, kind, and fair, but be firm and consistent with what you expect of them. When you set your expectations like this, you will always find yourself encouraging them, and the way they will turn out will depend on the kind of love and encouragement you show them. Lead the way, and they will follow. Apart from talking alone, be the actor of your words. Actions speak louder than words. Your children will behave the way you showed them. You must know that children are very impressionable at this stage of their lives. What they see the parents doing eventually becomes the norm and culture for them, outside what they hear the parents say. You will be wicked to expect self-control from a child you didn't model self-control for. Let your children see you as a role model, not just in words, but also in your actions. Children are not their behaviors. These people are young people that are learning to live life positively and become the best they can be. In doing these, they will make mistakes, and as a parent, you have to constantly keep correcting them. No matter how grave the mistake is, do not make the mistake of not knowing how to separate the child from the mistakes. They are not their action, so condemn the action and not the child. Rather than saying you are a bad child, you should say what you did was bad. Attacking the child will reduce the confidence they have in themselves, and they will have low self-esteem, and this will bring about a whole lot of mental disorders. As a parent, you must know that forceful methods of discipline will at almost all the time not be effective. So in correcting your children, do not nag, do not threaten them, or bribe them. Most children whose parents always nag come to start ignoring the naggings as they grow up. They begin to see it as the norm. Then when a parent decides to threaten or bribe the child, be rest assured that the child will not change or get your message. This is because these methods are not effective. Before you discipline a child, make sure that you properly educate the child on why you are doing what you are doing, else the child will see it as wickedness, especially when the child feels no wrong was done. In telling the child why discipline is coming the child's way, do not also forget to educate the child on the consequences of the actions that were carried out. It will help the child see that your discipline is out of love and care. As a parent, you can be so angered to the height of your emotions, and then you flare up angrily. For some children, this action makes them scared, and they might even end up withdrawing from you as a parent. So talking about your emotions as a parent, these periods of anger are inevitable. Just try to reduce the frequency, and then when the emotions are down, call the child and explain yourself, why you reacted that way, and then apologize if you handled the whole thing wrongly. In all you are doing, as touching, instructing, guiding, and trying to discipline the child, keep in mind that you are not doing what you are doing to control the child. All you want is for the child to have self-control. Make the home safe and secure. It is not abnormal for a child to fear most times. The truth is that everybody at one point in life is, or will be scared of something. The reason is that we will not understand everything that comes our way in life, and fear is a product of things that we do not understand. So children can have fears. While this is normal, it is also normal that the fear goes away after some time. So when the fear refuses to go away, and then it is now affecting the way the child behaves, don't get angry. Sit down with the child and patiently talk with the child about what is bringing the fear. Lovingly do this, and do not stop reassuring the child that everything will be fine. Signs of fear. You already see that fear is inevitable, so the most important thing to do as a parent is to watch out for this feeling in your child, and then you will know how to help the child. Below are the signs to watch out for. Nervous mannerisms. Being shy for no reason. Withdrawal from people that the child was once comfortable around. Aggression in relating to other people. Altered eating habits and sleeping patterns. Playing sick or feeling anxious. When you begin to notice these deviations from the normal, you need to pay maximum attention to that child as a matter of urgency as a parent. Some other fears can be normal, but still, they need to be tackled before it keeps the child mentally disordered. A very good example is the fear of going to school. This could be because of a change in the environment, and then the changing school is required, or going back to a particular school after facing a bad incident in the school. Also, some children will not want to go back to school after they have stayed at home for a long time because of a particular illness. When to seek help. There are times when the case will go beyond the handling of the parents or what they can solve. At this point, they need a professional. When a parent begins to notice persistent deviations from the normal behavior of the child, and then also receives complaints from the child's teacher or caregiver, then it means professional help should be sought for. Sometimes, at these points, the complaining and other people have tried to remedy the situation, but it has proved abortive. When it gets here, the parent will need to book an appointment with a pediatrician or a professional in mental health. Warning signs. Below are the signs you can see, and you will know the child needs urgent attention from a mental health professional. A drop in school performance. Poor grades no matter the efforts the child puts in. Consistent worry or anxiety. Avoiding going to school all the time to hang out with other kids. Always being active or scared. Nightmares all the time. Constant disobedience or aggressive behavior. Throwing tantrums all the time. Feeling depressed, sad or irritable. Just like adults, the importance of a child's physical and mental health cannot be overemphasized. Children tend to feel the same way adults do, but with the limited ability to express it. A child could have what we call waking up on the wrong side of the bed, but will not be able to express it due to age factor and possibly limited vocabulary. They do not as yet understand that this is the way they feel, or that there could be little or no reason for their behavior, so when it is expressed in the limited way they can, parents and superiors tend to view it as stubbornness or any other negative trait that they feel is common with a child of that age. A perfect understanding of the concepts in this book will help you relate with your child the way you ought to, and then you will help them develop the positive mental health that they need for proper functioning, and then they will also grow up into the teenager that you will be very proud of. Chapter 4. Developing Positive Mental Health for Teenagers. In the developmental stages of an individual, the teenage phase is a phase that must be treated with all carefulness, and serious attention must be paid to every individual in the teenage phase, especially by their parents. This is because this stage precedes adulthood, and the adult you see is a function of how the teenage life of the individual has been. The adult will not be different from the teenager except for the intensity of the individual's personality and the activities or value systems that make up the personality of the individual. Time intensifies things and strengthens conviction, so the end product of the teenager's value system and activities is the adult you will see. The teenage phase is so important because, in this phase, the individuals have to tackle a whole lot of challenges that come with the phase. While some of the challenges are personal, others are general challenges. These challenges are usually a threat to the mental well-being of teenagers. These challenges are peculiar to this phase, they are not witnessed by the younger generation. This is why teenagers and parents need to put a whole lot of effort to ensure that these challenges are taken care of without causing any form of mental disorder. The resultant effects of not dealing with these challenges are usually mental disorders, and studies have proven that when teenagers from 14 years and above, who are in school, have mental disorders that are not taken care of, there is a high probability that they will become school dropouts. In this book, we will consider the various challenges that can become a threat to the mental health of teenagers and how to overcome them. Challenges that threatens mental health of teenagers. Various challenges could pose a threat to the mental health of people in this teenage phase. We will be considering a number of them in this book. Bullying. In the USA, bullying affects a large number of teenagers. There are a lot of campaigns in the United States by the media and public health that are always raising the issue of bullying. In the United States, it has been reported that more than 1 in every 4 students have claims of being bullied in school. The effect of bullying is so intense, apart from the fact that it produces a lot of mental disorders, it can lead to suicidal attempts. Due to the grave effects of this challenge, parents and teenagers need to identify the signs of bullying and utterly address it if they see signs of bullying, or suspect that their child is a victim of bullying. Signs of bullying. There are various signs that a teenager will exhibit, and as a parent, you will know that the teenager is a victim of bullying. These signs are: changes in sleeping and eating suddenly, slipping school attendance or grades. Usually, children exhibiting these signs fake illnesses to skip school and attend classes. Unexplainable injuries and bruises. Trying to harm themselves. Bringing missing possession back home, possessions such as jewelry and electronics. Returning home with torn clothes. These are a few signs that should be looked out for to know if your child is a victim of bullying. Once you notice any of these signs, it is the perfect time to take immediate action. Other forms of bullying. Bullying doesn't always happen physically. Other forms of bullying are not physical. Physical bullying is the third most common type of bullying. It comes after verbal bullying and social bullying. The least common type of bullying is cyberbullying. Out of 9 times, victims of bullying have contemplated suicide twice, when compared to those that have not to experience bullying. Also, studies have shown that female students are bullied more than their male counterparts. This means that females at their teenage phase should be watched closely and paid maximum attention to in this regard. Cyberbullying. This refers to the kind of bullying that happens on electronic devices, like smartphones and laptops. This type of bullying happens via SMS and social media platforms. This type of bullying is on the increase, and this is because of the rise of smartphone and laptop usage. In the last 10 years, the number of students that have been bullied via cyberspace has doubled. This again is obviously because the number of teenagers that use their smart gadgets has doubled in the last 10 years. Again, the increase of this type of bullying is tied to increased internet accessibility among teenagers. Detecting cyberbullying is not as easy as detecting physical bullying. This is because physical bullying